Hello there, everyone, and welcome to GamePoints episode 290. A weekly little get-together, we talk about recent gaming news. As always, your host, Tim Brown, and joining me today is...
I'm David.
Tonight, David, the Splinter Cell remake is official. It's coming probably in a couple of years or so. And Tencent, as well as Embracer Group, grow even larger because their hunger for tiny corporations cannot be satisfied. They continue to consume them until there's nothing left. But first... David, I want everyone here to know this is an audience interactive podcast. So if you're watching here live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at twitch.tv/GamePoints or later over at youtube.com/GamePointsPC, feel free to join the conversation. Hit us up with any questions, comments, concerns, etc. you might have. Just try to keep them germane to the topics on hand. We're at that point of the year, David, where I start going through all the older video games throughout the year, seeing if I haven't maybe missed something to talk about, our favorite moments with show, which is going to be next week. Trying to clear out the back catalogs or anything like that. Is this something that you like to do as well, or is this only me?
Oh yeah, no, I like going back and playing games, except for I don't go back and play the games that came out this year. I just go back and play every game.
Has anything caught your eye over the weekend?
Dude, I've honestly just been playing a bunch of BattleTech.
Fair, like BattleTech, not MechWarrior.
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to make sure I had it right in my head.
Like that terrific fucking BattleTech video game that came out a few years back.
It's so good. It's
amazing. I loved it then, and I still love it now.
I'm salty we haven't gotten more from that yet. I really do want to see more of that studio does. I played a little bit of a bunch of stuff over the past few days. First up, I played The Gunk. Finished that up, by the way. It's a very quick game. We talked about it. It came out last week. That's that space exploration. You're on a planet sucking up this weird viscous substance to restore the planet to its natural beauty.
The Gunk, as it were.
Have a hard time recommending it. It's only about 5 hours, and it doesn't really... It fancies itself as like a platform puzzler. Like, you have to think about some things to advance. But none of the puzzles are really all that hard. Its challenge comes from the fact of you might have missed a little bit of something. And you have to go suck it back up. So there's no brain puzzle. There's like minor ones, but nothing that you can't figure out. Let's put it this way. The few times I got stuck is because I didn't see anything because it blended in with the environment.
Gotcha.
As opposed to, how do I solve this puzzle kind of thing. I have a hard time recommending it, but it is free on Game Pass. So if you already have Game Pass, I would say if you got nothing else to do, it's worth a playthrough then, but I wouldn't spend any extra to get it. I finally played something that didn't come out this year. It came out 7 years ago. Or maybe 5. It's 5 or 7 years ago. I finally started the campaign to Titanfall 2.
The best first-person shooter campaign in the modern era.
When I started playing it, I said that I know this on paper, I know this mechanically, but it didn't really click on me because as I was playing the Titanfall campaign, I suddenly went, oh yeah, these are the good Call of Duty guys.
Yeah.
And it becomes very apparent as I start playing that campaign. I'm like, that's where that talent went.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm way behind on that train, but I finally got around to it. And there were 2 other things that I played.
Damn.
Yeah, I know, damn. One, because it's Game Pass. I have Game Pass now, so I'm going through.
Oh, yeah, I finally got you. It's been all year, right? Yeah. It's been an entire year effort to get you to come over to the dark side.
Yeah, all this is Game Pass stuff, by the way, if you didn't notice something. I played Alien Fireteam.
Okay. I
went into that knowing it was going to be low budget. I didn't expect it to be that low budget.
It's a cheap game too. It's not a $60 video game.
That's not necessarily a knock against it. I think it is better than Colonial Marines was.
Mm-hmm.
But Absolutely. It does have a whole host of issues. One, the AI is kind of brain dead. And 2, I think the missions take way too fucking long without any checkpoints in between.
Okay.
Like, that first mission alone was like 44 minutes. And I was like, damn, that's a long time for us to have died and go back to the beginning of that.
Were you playing by yourself?
No, I was playing with 2 other people. It just took 44 minutes.
I was like, how did it take you that long? I don't think it took me that long.
Okay, fair enough. That was my first time playing it, though. So I was like, okay, gotcha. I know where this is. I'm going to take it off. I don't need to play this anymore. And then I played its other contemporary, Back 4 Blood.
The game that made everybody immediately stop playing Aliens Fireteam?
So I popped into that real quick. Now, I played it during its open beta phase, and I liked what I saw there. But one thing it didn't have when I played it, at least, is I spent some time running around the camp, and it suddenly bombarded me with movie after movie after movie. Not of like cutscenes or anything like that, but if you want to
References.
get, yeah, what was that?
References.
Not even references. It started
Oh.
bombarding me with shit to buy.
Oh.
You want to succeed? You need to get the battle pass to open up the battle cards so that way you can equip your person. And after like the third movie of that shit, I stopped and immediately uninstalled it.
I don't actually even know what you're talking about.
So maybe
you can buy things in that game.
There's like a
with
battle
money?
pass system and a card system. I don't know if you
The
can spend real world
the
money on
card
them.
system I have never spent money on. That's literally the game's progression system.
And
As you play the game,
okay,
you literally by playing the game, you get this like currency.
yeah,
Call it money or whatever. You then go to the card vendor and there's multiple tracks, which I guess could be considered Battle Pass E, in that there's a bunch of unlocks in a line, and once you've committed to a track, you have to unlock that whole line.
yeah. That's the supply chain stuff.
And you get all of those cards, and then you can go to the deck builder, and you can create decks, which are different enhancements and abilities and modifiers and stuff like that, that your character gets as you play through.
I
And you can have
remember that
multiple decks.
I remember that being in there.
And it's actually super cool. And so you being like mad at it is really confusing to me because I honestly don't know how to spend real money in that video game.
So
I legitimately do not.
Here's my problem with it. It's not that you can spend real money in it. Let me. I don't think I did a good job of kind of explaining what my issue was. My issue wasn't with the cards themselves being in the game because that was in the open beta.
Mm-hmm.
My issue was that I loaded into that Camp Hope, and the first thing it does for 3 movies in a row is bombard me with other videos talking about why I need to get their battle pass.
Interesting. I wonder if that's a new thing or if it's a thing on Game Pass because I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's not. I wish I had an example that I could think of off the top of my head, but they're like showing.
I can understand what you're saying. Like you're just getting hit with pre-made little video game movies telling you to do a thing.
Like I go talk to the first vendor and I get the narration of like the movie voice guy telling me about how you need to unlock the supply chains to do this and follow the path to unlock all this, and I was like, okay, whatever, that's fine. But
sounds like you're just mad at the tutorial videos.
yeah, that's kind of it. But
Okay.
I found them so over the top egregious for some reason that I was just like, no, I'm out. I can't handle this.
So you didn't even play the game.
I played the game during beta, so I knew I was going to get, but that just was so over the top. It felt like they were trying to push the battle pass on me so hard with that shit that it just bounced right off of me.
So funny.
I don't know what it was, because normally, I'll admit too, normally that shit doesn't bother me all that much. Like, I kind of roll my eyes at it and go, okay, whatever. But I think it was in comparison, because I played it the same night I played Alien Fireteam. And Alien Fireteam, as budget and ghetto as that game is, I don't feel like it was trying to shill itself to me the way Back 4 Blood did, which is a full budget title. I think that triggered it. I can't say for certain. I don't know what it was, but I just saw that and it just pissed me right off, and I tapped right out. I don't know. It just did.
I honestly don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I'll see
Because
if
as
I
far
can
as I
find
know,
it.
the only thing that you can buy for Back 4 Blood is an annual pass that was in like the deluxe versions.
Now, when they were saying
it
buy,
gives
they
you
might
the-
have meant the in-game currency.
Okay. Yeah, weird. That's just funny. I think that game's dope, but okay, cool.
Yeah, it just bounced off. I might go back to it later, but I was just so... That left such a bad taste in my mouth. I even was going to play
funny.
Hoffman, who was essentially me. And
Okay. Cool.
that's just it. I can't explain it. Beyond, I just thought it was distasteful. Distasteful enough for me to stop playing and immediately uninstall it once I get the third one of those in quick succession.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I'm wondering if they patched it and they added more tutorial videos or something, because I honestly can't even think of what you're talking about.
During the beta, they weren't there. I can tell you that.
Gotcha. So maybe when I started, because I started as soon as that game came out, so maybe they were added later.
I don't know. I'll see if I can find them later and show them to you. David,
Cool.
enough opining about what we played, though. Let's go ahead and get into the news, starting with the first story right here from Ubisoft itself. Splinter Cell Remake begins development at Ubisoft Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Ubisoft has greenlit the development of a Splinter Cell remake that'll draw from the rich canvas of the brand. Led by Ubisoft Toronto, these are the guys that did Blacklist, which I actually enjoyed as a Splinter Cell game, and I know Blacklist got a lot of shit, but I actually liked it, as well as Far Cry 5 and 6. The game will be built from the ground up using Ubisoft's own Snowdrop engine, the same engine used to develop Avatar, as well as Ubisoft's upcoming Star Wars game, to deliver next-generation visuals and gameplay, and the dynamic lighting and shadows the series is known for. So, one thing off the gate that I mean, it's obvious here, it's a remake. It is a full remake of the first one, it sounds like.
Yep. This is not a new Splinter Cell, so it's not actually the sequel that you've wanted all this time.
The franchise is coming back. That's all I care about. And I'm fine with it being a remake, because then you can justify not bringing back Michael Ironside. And I love Colonel Radek, or Radchek, or I love Michael Ironside. But he is getting up there in age. He can't be doing... He was bitching about doing it in Blacklist when Blacklist came out. That he's like, I'm getting too old to do the motion capture for this.
Yeah, but you could just have a different guy do the motion capture.
I am fine if they want to bring in a brand new character. I really am. Or not, let me rephrase. I am fine if they bring in a brand new actor. At this point, I'm fine with it. And if you give it like the reboot treatment or the remake treatment, you can justify it a little bit better.
Well, so they need to sell Splinter Cell to a whole new batch of people because, you know, these games are old.
Yeah, I mean, Blacklist came out years ago, and that franchise is already kind of in... Let's be honest here, that franchise is already kind of in the gutter at that point, so they really need a new take on Splinter. I don't want to say new take, but they need a new coat of paint. They can rebuild it from the ground up, and that seems to be where they're going with here for sure. Now, the producer on the game, Matt West, also said something that I found very interesting that he had to go out of his way to say to kind of alleviate some feels. From Matt West. Although we're still in the very earliest stages of development, what we're trying to do is make sure the spirit of the early games remains intact in all the ways that gave us early Splinter Cell its identity. So, as we're building it from the ground up, we're going to update it visually, as well as some of the design elements to match player comfort and expectations, and we are going to keep it linear like the original games, not make it open world.
That's the best news that they could have announced, actually.
Because there was a bunch of grumbling that there was a Splinter Cell being developed, and that was going to be open world. Now, I don't have my sources at Ubisoft that I used to have. They have since moved on to greener pastures, but that is what I heard as well, is that there is an open world Splinter Cell on the table, and it just never really went anywhere because they couldn't figure out how to make it an open world game.
And now they're going to make an actual video game instead of a checklist, so that's exciting.
That is very exciting. Very much looking forward to that. What do you think about this, David? Were you ever a Splinter Cell kid?
No, I owned a PlayStation.
Okay. I mean, it was on PlayStation. It just didn't start on PlayStation.
Yeah, I owned a PlayStation.
So that means fuck Splinter Cell?
That means I played Metal Gear Solid.
Okay.
This entire franchise means nothing to me.
You can't... It is possible to enjoy both of them.
I know.
Just so you know. All right.
Much like I can play both Gran Turismo and Forza. However, for my stealthy dude creeping around in the dark, my my allegiance belongs to the snake.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I can't fault you for following Snake.
I never really played it. I think I played the second one for a while, and I was like, okay, cool, but I wasn't like deep into the lore. The story never really grabbed me, so I haven't played every single game in the series.
Okay, fair enough. You know what's shocking to me about this announcement, David, is not that it exists or anything like that, but just how little fanfare Ubisoft gave it.
Yeah, they just kind of dropped it as like a small press release when I feel like they could have actually said something at the Game Awards.
Exactly, which makes me wonder if this isn't like 5 years minimum away.
They just made the decision to do this like the week of the Game Awards. They're like, man, there's not a lot of announcements. Oh, what could we have done? Right. We have nothing in the pipeline. Oh, I got it. We'll just make Splinter Cell finally. They
do say they're in the very earliest stages of development and all that, which means someone just said, let's do this.
Yep.
I get the feeling that this was done less to tell the fans that this is coming and more to try to draw on talent, because Ubisoft has had a massive talent drain over the past like 2 years.
Yeah,
like they are bleeding team members left and right at the studio. So
all their games look and play the same, so what are you gonna do?
Right. This strikes me as a press release that was designed because people look at LinkedIn's now. People looked at like game dev jobs to see what new unannounced games might be coming up if they're hiring for something.
Hmm.
I think Ubisoft went, hey, listen, we have to have a major team for it. We don't have the staff for it. And the second we start hiring, people are going to know the jig's up. So let's just announce that we're working on it and leave it at that.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess that could work.
And I kind of like it. No hype. Just saying, hey, we're making it. It's coming. You'll see a trailer eventually. Rather than doing the shit that I know you and I hate, where they're like, here's video game announcement trailer 256, and all it is it's a 15-second black screen with a logo and maybe some music. It's like, really? Could you just not say, hey, we're making this and we'll get back to you when we actually have something to show for it? It seems like
Yeah, it
that's
is
what
what
they're
it is.
doing here.
Because if they had gone for the single still image and it just said Splinter Cell, there's an equal chance that we would have just shit on them anyway.
I'm not
So
sure.
then why are you announcing nothing?
I think it's weird, but I actually like this, saying it's coming. And let's be honest here, I can already write you what the 15-second Game Awards trailer for this would be. It'd be black. It would be solid black. You wouldn't even have any narration. It'd be solid black.
And then the
you
little
would see
eyes would light up.
3 green little eyes with that noise, the whatever the insert sound effect here, and it would just say Splinter Cell. Coming. We'd probably just even say coming.
Yeah.
Or in development or something. Why would I can literally just think of that in my head when you can just do a 2-minute press release right here and send it out? Save your resources, put them into the game. And I'm glad that Ubisoft is doing this.
Cool. Well, I hope you get the game that you've wanted all this time.
You know, I'm not even that big of a Splinter Cell fan. That's the bitch of it. I want a new one because I think Sam...
Dude, you can't say that to me now. You've been bitching about there not being a new Splinter Cell for 3 years.
Let me stop you real quick. I'm not a huge Splinter Cell fan. I am more shocked that such a huge franchise has been dormant this long.
Yeah, I'm just gonna... You could say that as much as you want, but I haven't been bitching about the lack of a Splinter Cell for the last 3 years.
That's fine. I know for a fact I have been bitching about lack of Splinter Cell for 3 years. But if someone's going to grill me on the events of like Splinter Cell Conviction, I'm going to go, I don't remember. I remember the tutorials being blended in with
You like the idea of a new Splinter Cell.
Yes.
You liked when Splinter Cells were coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Takes you back to a more hopeful video game.
I will also admit that franchise had some amazing ups, but it had some really low downs as well. So it is good to see them giving it a crack at it.
Fair enough. Speaking of low downs,
God,
our next story is via IGN and Wilson from our Discord. Shout out. There is a Mega Man movie in the works at Netflix because why the fuck not? They've got money. They're buying IPs. All the things that were once on their service are moved to other subscription services in the great subscription exodus that is the last 2 years. Anyway, Mega Man will be soon coming to Netflix in a live-action adaptation of the classic Capcom video game. For some reason, IGN has learned from sources familiar with the project that the Mega Man film is still very early in development. However, it looks as though the streaming giant will bring Mega Man to our screens. Over/under on it being Chris Pratt. Anybody? Although the project is yet to be confirmed by Netflix, the film's production company Supermatch let slip about the partnership during a recent website update. Henry Rell and in a quote, Henry Rell and their in-house producer Orly Rose Strauss maintain an active development slate, reads the official website. Features in the works include an adaptation of Capcom's Mega Man for Sherman Entertainment and Netflix, which they wrote and are directing.
Yeah, that wasn't even meant to be announced. They just kind of said it.
Yep.
I don't.
So they're way early. They probably haven't
Yeah.
finished writing it. They have no idea who's going to play anybody. I'm going to go out on a limb and say right now that this is going to be a bad film.
It can either go one of two ways, right? They could try playing it serious, which I'm going to be then upset at the way everything looks, because Mega Man's like 3 feet tall. So
Yes.
unless they have Tyrion Lannister playing Mega Man, which it might actually work, this isn't going to look right to my eye. Or two, they're going to go super, super cheesy with it, which means you're going to have the cover of Nintendo's American Mega Man 1 running around, and it's going to be in the vein of Cowboy Bebop and get canceled after one season.
I was done with this announcement when I got to the in a live action adaptation portion of the release.
This shit needs to be animated. They need to
it just needs to be animated. Period.
Video game adaptation. Everyone's trying to cash in on video game adaptations right now, but for some reason, I haven't even really
been
seen
for the last 30 years. It's not a new thing.
No. This is relatively new as of a couple years ago. There was a spate of them back when, like, you had Mario and Mortal Kombat and shit coming out, But this has been kind of a dormant thing for a while now. And now you have the Last of Us TV show, Uncharted, this Mega Man thing coming up. You have Arcane, which
Bro, that Doom movie came out in like 2005. They've been doing this shit. This is how it goes.
But every time Doom was one project that came out and sucked, and everyone kind of backed off that again real quick.
And then they made Hitman. Remember when they made Prince of Persia?
Yes, and these are all one-offs that come out, and I get the point you're saying. I don't. My point is, there was a time you'd have these one-off things, and people go, "Okay, this is a bad idea. Let's not do this." But now something has changed, and everyone at the same time is making a video game something.
The trouble is that a lot of the video game somethings are coming in formats that are more appropriate for the original source material. Last of Us being a TV show, that could kind of work,
I'm actually
right?
excited for that.
It's got
Uncharted
that pacing,
movie,
it's got that
though?
kind of thing.
Ugh.
Arcane being an animated short or animated show, that works great. It fits the universe. Mega Man being a full-length feature film in live action troubles me. I don't think it'll be very good. I agree with Wilson in that I am going to watch it because I do likes the Mega Mans. But I don't know. I don't have a ton of hope unless everybody involved fucking loves Mega Man. I don't know how great it's going to be.
My problem with it, like at the fundamental core, is that unless you're portraying everyone as like 4 feet tall, because that's the size of Mega Man. He's like 4 feet nothing, and all the Robot Masters are like 4 feet nothing. It's going to look stylistically wrong to me. So I'm left with the whole, it's either going to look weird or they're going to capture, like, film it with like life-size people, like actual tall people, like,
or they could just make Mega Man a young person.
And it's going, okay, so no, you can't make him a young, he's not a boy robot. He is a robot in the shape of a boy.
That is a stupid counterpoint.
No, it's a great counterpoint because to me, this shows a lack of knowledge of the source material, which bothers the fuck out of me. Because the reason why that Castlevania anime by Adi Shankar on Netflix was so fucking amazing is because
that dude knows more about Castlevania than anyone.
You know that whoever wrote that was just filled to the brim of Castlevania knowledge.
They make reference to the Game Boy Advance one.
Exactly. This, so far, and admittedly we don't know much about it, but so far I hear live action and Mega Man and instantly think they have no idea what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, no, that's just the worry. Because the track record is bad for live action video game adaptations, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's very few. Wilson, yes, Sonic was great because it's a passion project. And then there's Monster Hunter, which is just, a film that released. So you never know.
Just like how you said it was a film, just let it hang.
I don't really need to give anybody any details about that. If you like Monster Hunter, you probably watched it and you feel how I feel about it.
You know what also bothered me too? This is kind of as a side thing, but the promotion image for this wasn't Mega Man. The promotion image for this was Mega Man X. A completely different character. That would be like if I came out and went, here's my trailer poster for the Mario movie and it had Luigi on there. People should be calling this shit out. It's going to be bad. Let's see. Chat says, gotta disagree with me here. Mega Man could totally work a Ghost in the Shell style existential series exploring the ethics of artificial labor. One, they're robots. I don't care what they feel. They're going to work for me and do what they're told.
That's just like your opinion, man.
It's dependent on programming into all of them, too. They're going to have that same opinion. They'll be happy they're working for me.
You ain't programming no fucking robots.
I'm going to give her a box degree just to prove you wrong.
Come
back 7 years later.
If you were programming robots, you wouldn't be talking on a fucking weekly video game newscast.
I think that the thing is, though, is that I think you could really get dark with Mega Man if you wanted to. Like, you could get very, very serious with Mega Man. Because he is, if you think about it, it is about a robot who is sent to hunt down his brothers and sisters, and he not only defeats them, but he rips off parts of them to graft upon his own body.
Yeah, so what you do is you take the concept of Mega Man, and then you combine elements of the first Proto Man album, and you make that your film.
I haven't thought about the Proto Man in years.
I thought about him like 2 weeks ago.
Anyways, let us know what you think about the Mega Man movie coming out. I just don't have hopes for it because I don't see Mega Man working as a live action anything, and I think that's the end of it. Let's see.
Yeah.
Chat saying that's why Dr. Wily would be able to convince your toaster to kill you. No.
Classic murder toaster.
I would never let my toaster have the freedom to kill me. The mistake was giving
stalking your hallway right now.
The mistake was creating machine in the form of man. Machine should always be in the form of machine. And I know that we all have this weird thing about how everyone wants to make the...
grossly ignoring Maximum Overdrive. Machines can still get you, dog.
No. Maximum Overdrive was a truck in the form of a man. You remember that giant green jester-looking thing? They made.
Do you also remember the people that were dying to regular kitchen objects? Man,
yeah, but they were following the beat of the big truck. He was clearly the ringleader.
He wasn't.
That movie, by the way, don't ever watch it. But if you do, realize that that's the voice of Lisa Simpson in it.
Yeah.
David?
Yeardley something? I can't remember her name.
Smith, I think.
It also has a soundtrack composed entirely by AC/DC.
Yes.
Including all ambient music.
Oh, goddamn, I hate that movie so much.
That movie's a treasure. Never listen to this other guy.
Let us know what you think about this Mega Man thing in the comments down below. Moving on to the next topic, because I think we've squeezed as much juice out of Mega Man as we can this show.
At least until Netflix gets there.
This is kind of surprising to me, and good on them. And we've talked about the amazing recovery of Final Fantasy 14 over the years, and I'm shocked it's reached this point.
Never has a game company been more in tune with their fans.
Yes. Via IGN headline, Endwalker is so popular that Square Enix has had to stop selling Final Fantasy 14.
Yes, you heard that correct. You cannot buy Final Fantasy 14 right now.
From the article itself. Square Enix had to temporarily suspend sales of Final Fantasy 14 because of the tremendous success of its latest expansion, Endwalker. Writing on the Final Fantasy 14 website, producer and director Naoki Yoshida explained that the sheer amount of people playing Endwalker has far exceeded Square's server capacity. In order to try to alleviate the long wait times for players logging in, the company has decided to stop selling Final Fantasy XIV to new players temporarily stem the tide of incoming server traffic. This move is only targeted at new players in order to give existing players a better chance to get into Endwalker. As such, expansion packs and collector's digital upgrades will remain on sale so that existing players can upgrade them as required. The temporary suspension of Final Fantasy XIV sales will be phased in over the next few days as Square Enix negotiates with retailers. The company is also suspending new advertisements for Final Fantasy XIV as well. The game is selling so much, they're pulling advertising for it.
Yes. Also, one thing that this article does not mention that is important to note is that if you are not a paid subscriber, if you are a free-to-play player of Final Fantasy XIV, you currently are not allowed to log in during peak hours.
I kind of like this move. It's a very consumer-first move.
Yeah, they're absolutely just trying to make it so all of their loyal fans that have been playing subscription this whole time that want to play this new expansion, they get to. And everyone else can wait because they haven't been waiting for it as long.
I think Square's hungry. And I think they smell blood in the water when it comes to WoW. Because a lot of people have bounced off of World of Warcraft and gone specifically to Final Fantasy XIV, including many major streamers who used to stream nothing but World of Warcraft and said, fuck this game, fuck what they've done to it, I'm going somewhere else. And they're all, most of them are going to Final Fantasy XIV.
And if it wasn't for the chip shortage and their inability to actually upgrade their servers, because that's the problem. It's not something that they can even really work on. They're stuck with their current server capacity. They would probably be just making all the money because so many people want to play this damn video game.
You can't increase your server capacity if you can't even buy servers to increase it with. You can only push that shit so far before it's like, okay, we run the risk of damaging stuff.
Yeah, but even with these steps, even with removing it from being unsold and from making so free-to-play players can't play at peak hours, the queue time to get into this expansion is still like an hour and a half.
Yeah, if you try to pop in like on an early Friday night to play with your friends, I'd imagine peak times, it's bad. Hell, I log in at like 2 or 3 in the morning my time, and it's still like a 5 or 6 minute wait. And that's like as low as it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is insane with how many people have been going on this. But as we've said before in the past, I love the story to Final Fantasy XIV, and by that I don't mean the plot to the game. I mean the development story behind this, where it was dead on arrival.
They literally in universe nuked the old video game to make way for the rebirth.
Yes, and I love that you said in universe, because it tickles me pink that they actually go, yeah, there used to be this world before, and an apocalypse happened.
Yeah, there was a calamity, and it no longer exists, and this is the new world.
Yeah, I appreciate that that's a thing. And all the best to Final Fantasy XIV's future development, because it is apparently just kicking ass. Wilson's Corner in chat says, fun little amendment to the story. Square even tried paying a premium to get the hardware for the services. They literally can't find the hardware. I did not know that. If you have a link to that story, by the way, Wilson, I would love to read it. Link it in our Discord, which is linked right
That's what I'm
below.
saying. If it wasn't for the chip shortage, they'd be making so much money, because they can't. They're stuck until things get better. This is just how it's gonna be for a minute.
Good on them. I don't want Square Enix to have problems, because they're already swallowing a massive loss of Avengers. A loss that would be very dangerous, I think, to the company's overall health if it wasn't for something like this balancing it out.
Well, there you go.
Do you play Final Fantasy XIV at all, David? I don't think you do.
Well, it's an MMO, so no.
Yeah. Well, you do that thing with MMOs where you max out a character and then immediately stop.
So the MMOs that I play exclusively are action MMOs. Where
so like Diablo, Path of Exile, etc.
Yeah, and like New World counted because there was a block and a roll, and I could left click to attack. But the MMOs where, you know, I have to worry about F1 to F9, and I basically just look at cooldowns. I don't play that kind of video game. That is not interesting to me.
Just following up on that. That's what I thought the case was, but I wanted to make 100% certain. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off onto this next story here, David, which I'm kind of excited for.
Yeah, in another story from IGN, Ghostbusters actor Ernie Hudson says a new game is definitely happening. Actor Ernie Hudson, who played Winston Zedmore in the Ghostbusters series, has confirmed a new Ghostbusters is happening. During a recent panel with the Countdown City Geeks YouTube channel, Hudson said, quote, I just got an email because we're doing another video game. They're scheduling it now to do the recording, and I'm not too sure who's going to do it. I know me and Danny, I think. I'm not sure if Billy will be on it, so there will be another video game. When they'll bring it out, I don't know, but it's definitely happening. So yeah, just having a casual conversation with some YouTubers, and let drop that he just got a phone call about recording voice signs for a new video game, and that Dan Aykroyd's probably in it.
Super excited for this, by the way. Did you ever play that 2009 Ghostbusters game that had them all in there? It was essentially Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah, it was a cool video game.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good, not necessarily great, but it really felt like a Ghostbusters. When I say it felt like Ghostbusters 3, I mean it felt like Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah. Now that there's a new movie, it makes all the sense to get together and actually make another in-universe video game with, you know, some of the original stars.
They did a remaster in 2019, so if you haven't had a chance to play it, I'd recommend going and taking a look at that. The game was good. Not great, but solid. And with any luck, this will come up.
It's 10 years old and remastered, so it's probably pretty cheap.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I wouldn't pay any more than $20 for it these days, for certain. One thing I will say, David, is that just because he says there is a new Ghostbusters game coming does not mean it will be in the same vein as that 2009 Ghostbusters game. This could be a mobile game for all we know.
True. So Telltale presents Ghostbusters.
It could be that. Telltale's making moves again. They have that Expanse TV show. They have the Expanse Telltale game coming out. They're still working on Wolf Among Us 2. Apparently, they're supposed to get some more information on that sometime next year. There's also the studio that's doing the Star Trek game made of a former Telltale dev. So that kind of game is coming back and coming back hard. So this could be part of that. We don't know. But I would love to see it to be a proper sequel to that Ghostbusters 2009 game.
Yeah, that would make, I think, the most sense to me. And probably what most people would want is something either in that vein or at least with that much kind of like love and attention given to it.
All right. We got a couple things here we got to get into, and I don't think either one of us necessarily like this. But I hate one way more than the other. Let's start off with the one that I'm really just going to loathe, and that's the fact that Tencent has grown even larger. You're right,
latest
Tencent, by the way.
GamePoints company expansion update.
Tencent has acquired Turtle Rock Studios. Turtle Rock Studios being the same people who made, well, Back 4 Blood, as well as Left 4 Dead games.
Indeed.
Tencent Holdings Limited has acquired Turtle Rock Studios, the parent company Slamfire Inc., the company is announced today. Turtle Rock will become a part of Tencent while retaining its independent operations out of Lake Forest, California, and its existing team will continue to run all studio operations led by co-founders Phil Robb and Chris Ashton. The acquisition will have no effect on Back 4 Blood, Turtle Rock's hit multiplayer action game, which is punished by WB. So this is kind of the typical Tencent MO. They come in, they buy a company outright, and say, we're not making any changes to it.
Yeah. For now.
Yeah, just don't expect any of their future games that Turtle Rock makes to say anything critical at all about China. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Grab your popcorn time for my weekly anti-CCCP rant. You know, at this point, no, you know what?
You could watch previous episodes.
Let me sum up real quick. The CCP is a bag of dicks. They are led by some dude that looks like Winnie the Pooh, and one of their ex-vice prime ministers raped a tennis player who was then disappeared and then forced to come back a couple weeks later and recant her story. So yeah, fuck the CCCP. They also harvest the organs of Muslims. So once again, fuck them.
Good summing up.
And I wish more and more companies would actually stand up to that shit. So go back to the tennis thing. Congrats to the Women's Tennis Association for saying we're not going to play any game in China ever until this shit gets addressed. So go them. I wish that these companies like Turtle Rock and Activision and everyone else has the balls that the Women's Tennis Association has.
I like that.
So yeah, Tencent now owns Turtle Rock Studios. Adjust your buying accordingly if it means that much to you. I will never tell anyone they should do something in like a serious context beyond that, but I will make my own decisions as far as that goes. Not to be outdone by Tencent, however, is our old friends at Embracer, who I am less concerned about, but I am starting to worry about more and more and more as they get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yes, what started out as a brief spark of hope for me that things that I used to love might continue under the Embracer Group has become things that I currently love are getting gobbled up by what has become Embracer. Turns out when you make a 17,000% profit over a year, you get really big.
That said, I wish I had fucking Embracer stock. God damn. Embracer Group, aka THQ Nordic and all that. You know them that have been buying up all these abandoned game properties for the past few years.
Formerly Nordic, once upon a time.
Yeah. They have expanded once more, and it's more than just video games this time. First up, they entered an agreement to acquire DIGIC. Digic is based in Budapest, Hungary, and they're an animation studio founded back in 2002. Now, they've created a bunch of commercial trailers and cinematics for a bunch of games. They're kind of like Blur, if you know who Blur is. And they have a couple shorts from Love, Death, and Robots, if you want a bit of their work. They actually do really good work. I've taken a look at some of their stuff, and it's very impressive. My apologies, I just coughed, and I did not mute my mic for that.
Classic.
No idea how much they paid for it, but they are apparently bought lock, stock, and barrel by Embracer. Embracer also, this is big, but I'm saving the video game one for last, but I do think that this is actually the biggest acquisition.
Yes.
Embracer entered into agreement to acquire Dark Horse and forms its 10th operating group. Embracer,
yeah, they have now purchased a comic book publisher.
More than just comics, though. It's everything Dark Horse produces, including its little like short film producer apparatus.
That's true.
Which
They do a lot more than comics, but I like comics, so that's where my brain goes.
Embracer strengthens its transmedia capabilities by adding expertise in content development, comics publishing, and film and TV production. Dark Horse owns or controls more than 300 intellectual properties, many of which are attractive for future transmedia exploitation. Exploitation. It does say exploitation. I was like, there's no way a press statement would just say exploitation on it. But no,
yeah, it does.
That's the fucking word. I would sooner rather have believed I mispronounced that. Including the creation of new video games. Dark Horse founder and CEO Mike Richardson will continue to lead the company together with existing management. No idea how much of the deal is worth, but we do know that 80% of the shares of Dark Horse was acquired through a seller in Hong Kong, China. And the remaining 20% came from the founder, Mike Richardson, and Neil Hankerson, both of which are staying with the company. I'd imagine when they say both are committed to stay with the company, they might have those deals where it says you have to stay with us for 2 years before you quit if you want your stock to vest.
Yeah, so this is a reverse for you, right? Because they're buying Dark Horse from somebody in China.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. It says a seller based in Hong Kong and China. That could have been like some brokerage firm that's based out of there that was gobbling up all the smaller shares from other stakeholders and went, hey, here's this for this much if you sell it to this. They could have contracted this out. I don't know the exact details for that.
Who knows? We don't know the details.
But yeah, Dark Horse. People don't realize I don't think anyone realizes how big Dark Horse is. They used to be way bigger in the 90s. They used to have much more of a cachet in the 90s. That's when they were doing all the Star Wars
Dark Horse
comics
is still big,
comics.
but a lot of their moneyest making properties were sold off to the big two.
Right. Didn't Image Comics also start from a bunch of people who left Dark Horse to create their own thing?
Yeah, I think that was, or they either left Dark Horse or they left DC. I can't remember.
My comic knowledge is, I don't want to say minimal, but it's not expansive.
That's okay. My 90s comics knowledge isn't that great, so what are you going to do?
Okay. So yeah, that is a lot of new IP that Dark Horse just that Embracer just gobbled up. And then finally...
So the potential good news, right, is that they also own a metric fuck ton of video game companies. Yeah. So maybe, potentially, your favorite Dark Horse comics? Well, for future transmedia exploitation, there is a very good chance that some of your favorite Dark Horse comics will become a
I still can't
multimedia property.
The term exploitation specifically. That's why I stumbled on it. I was like, I had to be reading that wrong. And I was like, nope. That's what that says. Finally, because not Tencent, Embracer is not done buying shit yet. Embracer Group is also entering an agreement to acquire Perfect World Entertainment. Perfect World is a video game developer and publisher for PC and consoles, including Perfect World Publishing and Cryptic Studios. The acquisition adds on a total of 237 companies, or employees rather. The purchase price for the acquisition compromises a one-time payout of $125 million, divided into $60 million of cash and then $65 million of B shares of Embracer. At this point, I'd say give me $30 million and then give me 90 million shares of Embracer. How fast they're fucking growing, but that's besides the point. I'd be happy with just 1 million shares of Embracer. I'll sell you GamePoints for 1 million shares of Embracer. I'll do it for 1,000 shares of Embracer. They're getting folded into Gearbox, because remember, Gearbox is now its own publishing group within Embracer's umbrella.
Yeah, they're huge, in case you're wondering how big Embracer's got.
Now, if you don't know who Perfect World is, Perfect World, Cryptic Studios, which is part of Perfect World, for example, manages Star Trek Online.
Yeah, they've made a shit ton of the free-to-play MMOs that you find around.
Yeah, specifically
some other stuff too,
the Southeast Asian ones are usually brought over to America by Perfect World Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
I also think they're working on a Dune MMO.
Cool.
Dune, D-U-N-E, not Doom. But yeah, they also own Torchlight. Torchlight's part of Perfect World Entertainment. They own stuff that is known. So that is also that when it comes to video games, that is by far the biggest acquisition of the three they've had here.
Yep.
Embracer is huge. I really want to sit down and find out how many people work for Embracer and compare their operating revenue to the people like EA and Activision stuff, because they have to be bigger than them at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I need to sit down and actually look at hard numbers for these studios.
They're really big.
Big.
Well, remember a while ago when they announced that they had like 117 or 170 some odd titles in development, and we're like, how do they have that? And then we remembered exactly how many companies are under their umbrella.
Yeah, it's big. That is a project for a future time, however.
Mm-hmm.
David, why don't you take us this last story? A little bit sad.
On a down note, in a story via Metro News, the Psygnosis co-founder Ian Hetherington has died. Colleagues and friends have been paying tribute to Ian Hetherington, the co-founder of iconic British publisher and developer Psygnosis. The news was announced by veteran games journalist Jez Rignall and was relayed to him by fellow Psygnosis co-founder Jonathan Ellis. Tributes were paid by colleagues including musician Tim Wright, Wipeout co-creator Nick Burcombe, and Firesprite co-founder Lee Curris. Starting as a developer at Imagine Software, Hetherington and several former staff established a new studio, Psygnosis, in 1984, and the new company quickly going on to become one of the most influential in the 16-bit era. Psygnosis titles became famous for the quality of their graphics and distinctive packaging, which was considerably more professional than most of the rivals at the time, and saw the company publish Amiga-era classics such as Shadow of the Beast, Barbarian, Hired Guns, Blood Money, and Lemmings. And I know I'm talking about some old stuff, but he's done way more than that. This led to Sony acquiring Psygnosis, with Hurtington remaining in a business role and helping to oversee classics such as Wipeout, G-Police, and Colony Wars, one of Steven's favorites.
This is why, by the way, I mentioned it here. We very rarely eulogize people in the game industry when they die unless they're extremely big names or they have a personal attachment to one of us. In this case...
I'm a huge Wipeout guy, so this hits both.
In this case, Psygnosis made some of my favorite games of the early and mid-90s.
Psygnosis was renamed as Studio Liverpool in 1999 and then closed down in 2012, but Hurtington still went on to become the chairman of Drive Club developer Evolution Studios and Crackdown creator Real Time Worlds. He was one of the most influential and well-respected figures in the early British video games industry, and his legacy continues today with Firespite, which was recently acquired by Sony, being considered the spiritual successor to Psygnosis.
Weird that he made Psygnosis. Got bought by Sony.
Yes.
Sony changed it to Studio Liverpool and then shut it down. And he founds another studio who was then acquired by
Sony. Yeah.
Our best wishes go out to Ian Hetherington's family. That man influenced a lot of game designers out there and made some truly, truly incredible games.
And was in industry for a long damn time.
Yeah. I mean, I remember Lemmings when I was a kid. Lemmings was a hugely popular when it first came out. It was a big hit. Arguably their biggest hit they ever did was Lemmings.
Some of those Psygnosis PlayStation games too are just classics.
Colony Wars, G-Police, Wipeout. Wipeout was so big it was in the hit movie Hackers. Hey, you know it was a hit in our hearts.
Yeah, of course.
That song introduced that song introduced me to Halcyon and on, which also played at the end credits of Mortal Kombat.
Correct.
David,
which makes me think that the end of Mortal Kombat leads directly to the beginning of Hackers, right? Because that's the way the music plays out.
Yeah, that's the deep lore that we need.
I don't know how they're related, but they are.
That's the deep lore right there. David, we have one upcoming event, and it deals with this show specifically. Next week will be our best and worst gaming moments of 2021. This is kind of an annual tradition over here. We talk about our favorite and most hated moments in video games over the past year.
This year has a special caveat, though.
This does have a special caveat.
As the number one worst moment is clearly apparent to everybody, the Activision Blizzard just fucking debacle is not going to be on our lists because we would both have it as like our top 3.
Yeah, we will definitely mention it next week as well. But if you're wondering why Activision Blizzard isn't on there, it's because it's too obvious.
Yeah,
it's way too obvious.
We're trying to, I don't know. Our list is normally a bit more lighthearted, I guess you could say, and there's been some fucking shit this year, so we'll see how it goes. Yeah,
we're gonna see how it goes. Keep in mind and you can join us in this as well if you want to give us what your favorite and least favorite game in which 2021 were. The criteria are essentially any moment in games that you have experienced. That does not necessarily mean your favorite game of the year, but it could be one of your favorite games of the year. You could say playing through Inscription was a great moment for you. But it could also be an announcement. It could be a specific level of a game. It could be just anything gaming related that you can think of. For example, when it comes to levels, the year Mario Odyssey came out, that game was good. But on my list of favorite moments was specifically the New Donk City level when they're busting out the One Up Girl song and you're playing in the background. That was such a great moment in video games that made one of our lists. I think it was yours, actually. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm talking about when I say video gaming moments. And hit us up with what your favorite and least favorite moments were for next year when we do that show as well. And that'll be next week. David?
Yes, sir.
That's a week away, though.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be thinking about what my favorite parts of 2021 was without playing some of my worst moments of 2021 and some of the best. I need to still expand out on what's left in there. We still have a week worth of time of releases coming out. So what can I play this week that might potentially make my list?
Nothing. But there are new video games coming out this week, so let's.
Yeah, I
talk
struggled
about
with that because there's nothing coming out at all. So
There's not a lot.
couldn't think.
First up on the list, Winter Sports Games 4K Edition comes out on the Xbox.
Is it 4K edition or 4X edition?
It's 4K because it's on Series X and S only.
Okay.
Whether you enjoy skiing, the thrill of barreling down an ice track in a bobsled or sled, or careful, this looks like Wii Sports presents the Winter Sports Olympics. That is what this game looks like. That is what this game looks to play like. This looks like it'll be very fun if you've got 4 friends and you really, really like winter sports. Or if you have kids in the house that like skiing and bobsled and all that other stuff. But this isn't like the official Winter Games video game or anything like that. Like I said, it looks more like a Wii Sports analog. Also out this week, Lacuna, which you may play on the PlayStations, the Xboxes, is a noir detective fiction 2D side-scroller. There's a murder, a hack, a bombing. All it takes to plunge the solar system into war unless you do something about it. Help CDI agent Neil Conrad make a string of increasingly difficult decisions in this modern dialogue-driven adventure in a 2D sci-fi
That's
noir
enough for
universe.
me to take a look at what we got here going on here. Let me see.
Yep, it actually does look pretty decent. So.
Oh, man. Looking at this out the gate. So, okay, I'm taking a look at this right now. It's Lacuna Prologue that's up on here. The game itself is all done up in like a pixel art. So
yes.
I'm psyched on that. But the cover art for the game reminds me so much of Flashback, it's not even funny. And considering the character of Flashback was Conrad Hart, and this guy is Neil Conrad, I wouldn't be surprised if that's kind of what they were going for.
Yep. And last on the list, that's right, the list is already over. There's 3 video games that we could find that is coming out this week. Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, which is the next Dynasty Warriors game, but please remember that the Empires series of Dynasty Warriors video games is not the traditional hack and slash video game that you may know or love. Empires is also not Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but it kind of is the bridge between those two franchises, where it's a little bit less technical than ROTK, but a lot more than just mashing the square or X button that is the regular Dynasty Warriors franchise.
Also, keep in mind, Dynasty Warriors 9 fucking sucked.
Yeah, we didn't need to bring up that part, I guess.
No, I felt the need to bring it up. I think it's important that we point out a company's failures, lest they do them again.
Yeah, so Empires, like I said, it's a mix. So it's got a little bit of the Dynasty Warriors nonsense, and it's got a little bit of the, manipulate the country's politics and do all that other fun stuff that you get from RTK, but it's not as text-heavy, excuse me, as RTK would be, and it's not as action-heavy as Dynasty Warriors would be. So this is for a whole batch of gamers that I've never met, because most people I know are either one or the other.
David, that does it for new releases, and that does it for the show as well. This has been GamePoints episode 290, and thank you all for showing up. We do stream this show every Tuesday live at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. Or if you can't join us live, you can also watch us later at youtube.com/GamePointsPC. You can follow the show on Twitter at GamePointsPC, myself, Stephen Brown, at CapitalistPig21, and David there at PastLife_Satori. You can also be a great part of the greater GamePoints community to leave us any news articles or just chat with the community at large on our Discord server, link provided down below. Happy holidays to all of you in chat as well. Thank you very much for that. And if you like what you saw here and want to support the stream, you know what to do. Follows and notifications turned on, bits, subs, likes, subscribes, wherever you're at, you know what buttons to hit to get the show delivered to you directly. We will see you next week. But until then, stay safe, take care, and we're out of here.